giving this in Spanish for you to know what my incredible linguistic talents are. I took 4 years of Spanish in high school, 1 year in college. I was at the University of Miami for approximately 20 years, and I still can't give you this talk in Spanish, so let's see how it goes. What I'd like to do in the next few minutes is try and do something that you all are very, very familiar with. I'd like to engage your imagination. And I'd like to take that imagination and sprinkle it a little bit with some science in looking at where the future is in terms of what we're doing. Now, of course, if we take a whole lot of imagination and sprinkle it with a little science, I guess you could define that as science fiction. On the other end of the pendulum, if we sprinkle it with a lot of science and a little imagination, we're really talking about science. And from my standpoint, the only real difference between science fiction and science is time. In using your imagination, let's move ahead about 10 years from now. And let's assume all of the day-to-day problems that we are dealing with in introducing telemedicine and medical informatics have totally disappeared. We've got all the bandwidth we can imagine every place. Bandwidth is no longer an issue. We can walk into Radio Shack, Walmart, Best Buy, and get all of our telemedicine technology. All the legal, regulatory, reimbursement barriers that we may have in our various countries have all disappeared. Telemedicine is now in every correctional facility, is in every hospital, is in every classroom, is in every work site. Each of you has an electronic medical personal record. All your physicians and all the hospitals are totally integrated with electronic health records, and your personal health records talk with the physician's electronic medical record. You have even overcome probably the biggest barrier that we have today in introducing any new technology, and you have addressed the issue of resistance to change in terms of the human factors response. Now think of that breakthrough, folks. We wouldn't have to be here. Everything's taken care of. We have our day-to-day healthcare network totally networked. We have our disaster response system in place. Your records are kept electronically. You have access to them any place in the world, any place you go, and so does your physician. What have we really accomplished? And I would like to challenge you and play the devil's advocate and tell you we have accomplished very little. And let me tell you why. Kevin asked a question to John Lucas after his talk to how does medical informatics fit into what we're doing in terms of telemedicine. And from my standpoint, the integration is a very simple issue. It is because medical informatics and telemedicine are individual components of a much larger sphere. By the way, I was anticipating giving this talk by just standing up here and being totally silent and letting my mental waves interact with you, which I think will be the ultimate component of telemedicine. But until we get there, let me tell you why I think that telemedicine is just a single component, why medical informatics is a single component, and what they're a single component of. The whole is the area of information management. What we are about is really a component of information management. And what do I view telemedicine as? Let's look at the components of information management. Information management involves information acquisition. It then involves information processing. And at the present time, the electronic medical record, whether it's personalized or it's your physician's, is a component of information processing. Then there's information transport. And most of telemedicine is in the area of information transport. And then there's the final component, and that's information analysis. And I would challenge you to say that in that 10 years from now state where I said we've gotten everything we have been asking for, we have only addressed two legs of that information management tool. We have addressed the issue of processing with the electronic medical record, and we have addressed the issue of the transport with telemedicine. But to me, the most critical part that really all the other components sit on and are dependent upon is the whole area of information acquisition and the integrity of information acquisition. So that is going to really be the platform that I would like to address in terms of our view of the future and what we need to begin to think about at this point in time. So let's start with the whole issue of what we have done with respect to being able to bring the doctor's office to the patient, whether it's in the home, whether it's in the work site, whether it's in the school. What have we really done? Well, the initial knee-jerk reaction that everybody has had is, gee, we've been able to transport the doctor's knowledge and the ability of the doctor to assess that patient where the patient is. We can now do that. I would like to argue the point that it's not an issue that we can do it, it's an issue that we have to do it. And the reason that we have to do it is that my taking your blood pressure in my office is not as good an evaluation of your blood pressure as my taking your blood pressure where you live and work. There are literally, depending upon whose article you read, in the United States, 20 to 30% of people who are diagnosed with hypertension have what is called white coat hypertension. They really are not hypertensive. They come into the doctor's office, the doctor approaches them wearing their white coat, the patient gets nervous, their systolic and diastolic blood pressure go up, they're identified as having hypertension, they're put on medication. That's absolutely ridiculous.